Maybe you felt it too, that quiet ache of not quite belonging. You're not enough of one thing and too much of something else. You smile, you adapt, you blend. But deep down you wonder, who am I when no one's watching? Aloha, I'm Sharon Landon. Welcome to this episode of Old Asian Lady. My guest today is Christine Kaʻaloa. She is a video storyteller, a female solo travel influencer, and YouTube coach. In part one of our conversation, Christine opens up about growing up Hapa in Hawaii, challenges with identity shame and cultural stereotyping. We chat about her move to New York City, where she built a career shooting and producing reality shows and corporate branding projects. She also shares a fulfilled dream of living abroad in Korea. Christine,
Yes.
Thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with me.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's been a long time since I've seen you. I think maybe 8 or 9 years, and you were in Taiwan last time.
Yeah, that's been a while, huh?
It's been a while. Time passes fast when you're getting older.
Oh my gosh, don't even tell me.
I know.
Don't even tell me about getting older.
You're from Hawaii, but
Mhm,
what's your family background like?
Well, you mean like ethnically? Or?
Yeah, ethnically. You grew up.
Born and raised
yeah.
in Hawaii, on the island of Oahu, where we're at. My parents they're from Hawaii as well.
Mhm.
Like my mom's Japanese, fourth generation. My dad is, Hawaiian, Japanese, Chinese, German. So kind of like a mix.
Mixed up kid, as they would say.
So we call it Hapa.
Yeah, Hapa. Yeah.
And I guess, grown up here most of my life, until I went to college, and I went to college into the mainland, or to the mainland.
Was that a conscious choice? I mean, you wanted to get away from Hawaii, or you felt like mainland was,
No, I mean, when you live in Hawaii and you watch movies, I was totally into movies at the time. And, I just had this big idea of Hollywood and, films and all that stuff. And I wanted to be where all the action was. So it was a very conscious choice. I mean, in Hawaii, some kids get island fever. You get that feeling of you're living on a rock, and you'd like to experience more excitement and, parties and splashy events and stuff like that. And so I kind of always knew that I would be leaving Hawaii for school.
You just said that your dad was part Hawaiian, Chinese, German, and
mixture of
everything. Now, your last name is Kaʻaloa. Kaʻaloha. Now, that is Hawaiian.
Yes.
Some people are really proud of their Hawaiian roots. But are you more leaning that way, or more to your Asian roots, your mom's side?
When I was raised, I think I spent a lot of time with my grandparents on my mom's side, the Japanese side, because they would babysit me and take care of me while my mom was working at times. So I'd stay over there a lot. And so I was a little bit more on the Japanese side. And, growing up in Hawaii, even though we're a good melting pot and we respect each other's cultures, there's always going to be those stereotypes that you can't get away from, the negative stereotypes. And I think when I was young, my perception of being Hawaiian, it was kind of something that was a little shameful for me to a degree, because I saw how, the negative side of Hawaiians growing up. And I was trying to find the positive, but, the Japanese side always stood for, the proud, proud, the disciplined, the fearless, not weak, unemotional, stoic side. And I think for a long time, I was just as a kid, I was like, why does my last name have to be Hawaiian? And why does my first name have to be Christine, and it just felt so brown.
Oh,
Like I felt so brown.
Christine is brown.
For some reason, in my head, it felt brown.
Oh, interesting.
You know, so I was like brown and brown.
Yeah.
And so there was that kind of like you feel sort of dirty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and because I was also mixed, and I was Japanese, I'm not sure how my Hawaiian side felt about that either. Like I didn't know where to fit in because I didn't look Hawaiian. I don't look like brown skinned, like your typical Hawaiian person.
Yeah.
So I think that part just kind of like always stood as some kind of obstacle for me. And I didn't know how to embrace it for a long time until like maybe when I went to the mainland in college, where I was able to see other races and, you know, now be like a minority in a larger, like, you know, population of Caucasian.
Yeah, because you're saying that you're Hapa, so that's mixed for people that don't know, but you don't look like you're only Japanese Haole mix. You know, it's kind of hard to define. You've got that exotic mixed look, but
well, you're being very generous. Thank you. But you know, like even and it's really weird because I didn't feel like I fit in the Hawaiian side, but at the same time, compared to Japanese and how they look, I didn't feel like I fit in the Japanese. Yeah. And I grew up feeling like being sort of like told that I was not really like dirty, but like the Japanese would not accept me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it was a weird kind of like in between worlds that I felt most of the time.
Yeah.
Until you go into a place where it's just like very Caucasian, now you just feel like, well, no, I definitely don't fit in, and being different is at least, you know, something that stands out.
Yeah, I mean, this issue of not knowing where you are or where you fit, how did that affect you though growing up in Hawaii? Your mom Japanese, or was she like a typical strict Japanese Asian mom where you had to do such and such this way, go to Japanese school?
I actually did go to Japanese school.
You did go to
Japanese.
Was that forced on you? Did you like it? Or
you know what? I loved it. I went to Japanese school, like a good little Hawaii Japanese girl. Like Honganji. I also took Japanese dance, like Nihon Buyo, where you get painted up in all in white and you've got the wig and the kimono and stuff like that.
I never knew that there was really that many different styles of Japanese dance, because I think people think when they think Japanese dance, they think kabuki style, or that's like the main,
or geisha.
Or geisha. Yeah. So when I read that you had gone to you just said buya.
Like Nihon Buyo, like
Nihon
Japanese
Buyo,
dance.
Yeah. That is actually very Japanese and stylized, but it's a little bit different, right? But yeah, so you enjoyed doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and ironically, when I got older and more like beyond college, I came back to Hawaii and I got into this dance company where we did buto, which is completely different.
Oh, really?
Same white paint everywhere, but a little more avant-garde.
Okay.
And I think I just love the discipline of everything, and that's what I kind of embraced with the Japanese side, is the discipline for things, the mental discipline.
You mentioned like the white face in the dance, and all the dance styles, they all do the white face. Is that right? And is that signify
well, I'm not sure if it's all, but
okay. So
I just know there's a lot.
Yeah. And I just was wondering, just curious if that meant anything, or if that was like a mask that...
I think they're all masks. I mean, for buto, it's definitely a mask of like erasing your identity so that you can become what you need to become.
Okay.
So I think perhaps maybe, but I can't tell you if that's the real reason. I mean, you have the geisha who are just like, you know, maybe they were role playing of something, but or maybe it was a beauty thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting thing to research, actually.
I know, because I always thought geishas, I mean, when they have I think it's a perception of beauty in certain times and certain cultures, right? Because I know even in Chinese history, Chinese culture, there's a period of time
where it was really good to be chubby, of plump woman, not skinny, so I guess, I don't know, maybe it just started from that, but yeah, that's kind of
well, it's not only that. I mean, when you go through different Asian cultures, you'll find that the northern side, everyone's like paler skin, and that's considered beautiful, right? And so there's that aspiration to be white. Right?
It's like,
and then the South is just like all the farmer people. And
exactly.
Like,
nobody wants to be like the brown with the suntan thing. And when people say, "Oh, you're from Hawaii, how come you're not that brown?" I go, "Oh, because I slather myself with 50 or 70." But yeah, it's a perception people have, for sure. So now you're on the mainland, and you feel like you fit in with.
Well, I don't know. No, I didn't feel like I fit in. I was like the mainland. Because there's like Caucasian culture is so huge there.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm like definitely a minority. In Hawaii, I'm just a majority minority.
Yeah, yeah.
Feeling like I'm struggling in between my own ethnicities, like this little inner war going. But now I'm in like a larger population where I'm definitely a minority, but I don't know what subcategory I fit in or like what community. And I think like when I moved to Los Angeles or New York, the community that adopted me was the Chinese. Whereas the Japanese, I don't think I look Japanese. Definitely like Hawaiian. I don't look Hawaiian. I'm from Hawaii. There's Hawaii clubs.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you feel it was difficult for you though, in terms of your own self-confidence, your own, I don't know, self-identity, I guess we're talking about?
100%. 1000%. Because then it made me feel kind of like ashamed not to be white, for a while. And I think I went through that identity crisis of wanting to fit in to the majority, feeling like I was on the outside, and wondering all the time if people were discriminating against me because I was different, because I was Asian, and what the stereotypes are for that. And so I started to embrace being Hawaiian a little bit more, because that became more complex now. I didn't only belong to, because in the mainland, Asians are sometimes looked down upon too.
Yeah.
They're prized in the way of like, oh, they're intelligent and they're successful and whatnot, but at the same time, you're Asian. You're still like a third minority, or I don't know what it is. But so that's where I embraced being Hawaiian a little bit more, because then people couldn't figure things out.
Yeah, it's funny because every time we used to travel to the mainland and stuff, and people say, "Oh, where are you from?" And I've been to a lot of places too. I lived in a lot of places too. But I would always just say Hawaii, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Hawaii!"
Right?
So
nobody knows.
That
right?
was my tool.
That's why even when I travel, people are just like, "What country are you from?" And I know what they're saying.
Yeah.
I know that they're saying you are Asian.
Yeah.
What country are you from?
Yeah.
Some people, they even like say it in a dirty way.
Yeah.
And I just go, Hawaii, because I know. And then you see the stump look on their face.
Yeah.
Like, where is that?
Yeah.
Where is that?
Okay, that's true.
Okay.
You mean in other parts of the world, not necessarily the States, because everybody knows Hawaii from the States. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
my escape route. And my subtle way of sticking it to people.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is I feel like
how dare you look at me like I should belong, like I am from a different country. I mean, I am.
Yeah, but
like
they're making judgments on you just because they think they see something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're already starting to make that distinction of, oh, this is a stereotype.
Yeah.
Like they're grasping, like where does she fit in our culture? Like even when I went to Korea, there are some Koreans that would talk to me because they thought I was Korean. But then I realized that Koreans kind of like discriminate against themselves too. They don't necessarily treat each other better.
Yeah.
They kind of treat each other like if they know you're Korean, then you're the one who's going to get scolded. If you are in a group of friends that are white, and you're like the one that's Asian, then they're going to scold you when your friends are making too much noise.
Yeah.
So it's a weird bouncing around.
Exactly.
Or like maybe sometimes people be like, you're Filipino
Mm-hmm.
or you're, Thai.
Yeah. Most people think I'm
Vietnamese.
Filipino.
The way they say it too,
Yeah.
it's just like
It's
Asians
just-
don't like they're racist against each other too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's a weird world.
It's weird. It's funny in one way when you're looking at it because when you hear about racism, it's it's the white against Asians or blacks and stuff like that. But it's not necessarily so.
Yeah.
Within each culture, the different classes, even like what are they in Spain or something? There's different classes too.
That's true.
Right? So I don't know. Every country probably has that.
It's just like this weird, complex world of people not fitting in.
Yeah, everybody's having identity crisis everywhere.
Yeah, and
we just don't know about them.
True,
Yeah.
and we're always trying to find where we belong.
Yeah,
find our community.
Yeah,
and even when I was in the mainland, I was looking for my community. I was like, well, this is not quite it.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, because the Chinese kept adopting me as one of theirs, and they were so friendly towards me when they like, oh, you're Chinese, and they treated me nicely. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm Chinese.
Yeah,
I'm Chinese.
Isn't it interesting that certain people will, what is it called? Certain people will be exclusive, but other people will be inclusive. Like the people that are saying, oh, they find that connection.
Yeah.
And that's always a really cool
thing. It is really interesting when people do that, why they gravitate, or maybe it's a situational thing. There's the people that are like, oh, we're same.
Yeah.
And then there's the people that were different.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were on the mainland, the Chinese adopted you, but what did you ended up staying in New York City, right?
When I was in Hawaii, I belonged to a dance company for a brief time, and I really enjoyed that. That was kind of like it was more of a like with the butoh and stuff like that, part modern dance. It was a blend of like meditation and sort of like dance athleticism. So I really loved that. But when I went to New York and I was kind of still searching for that, I went for my master's degree and I needed to find something. And at first I thought I was going to go into like computer programming and making like web design, because I think my last boyfriend was a web designer and he seemed pretty successful. So I was like, I'm going to do that too.
I just have to say this. It just seems like, I feel like it's women more than men, because when you're talking about having boyfriends that do something, it's like women tend to do more things, to be connected to their boyfriend. Like, for example, you say computer science. I mean, I wouldn't go study it,
like computer,
but I did. Yeah, computer.
Like the more artistic side of it.
Oh, okay,
like web design.
Okay, because I was like, I dated a surfer. I started trying to learn surf. I dated a golfer. I tried to, you know what I mean?
No, and then when I had like another, I don't know what to call him because he wasn't quite a boyfriend, but he was kind of like a partner. He was a photographer, and then I kind of adopted that trait. And I'm not sure if sometimes we chase after those traits so that we can learn them for ourselves.
Yeah,
and maybe that's the best way that medicine can go down. I don't know.
Right. So, but then you ended up, we were saying that you were in film and you were in production in New York City.
So eventually, like I was going back for a career in web design, which eventually was not working out for me because it was just like gobbledygook language that
that's what computer is
I
like
was not responding to at the time.
Yeah.
So I grasped onto the only thing I knew was visual language, images, and what they had there was video.
Oh.
And so I was like, okay, I really like doing this, like video work. Yeah. This is like a blend of photography and art and dance and all that stuff in one. You got to do sound design and editing. And so I love that. And when I got out of my master's, I wanted to go the route of being an installation artist or performance artist. But I needed to make a living. And
don't we all?
Unfortunately, like I had a friend who was in the film industry in Los Angeles, or like the television industry, reality TV. And he was like, hey, Chris, I have this gig. I'm working with MTV and they need a camera operator. And you are an owner of the camera that they are looking, an op for. And so he was like, you can come down and stay at my place. And then so that opened the door, and it became something like working in reality shows as a camera operator.
That was in
how it
LA
started.
or New York City?
Well, that was kind of like a quick jaunt. I went over
okay.
there.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Just was trying to figure out if I wanted to stay in
Right.
LA or return to LA.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like New York. You know, New York, it's got a different kind of attitude, different kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
like work, work, and more work.
Okay, so
like jumping ladders, ladder to ladder.
Did you enjoy that life? Apparently you did. How long did you stay in New York City?
Around 8.5 years.
Okay, and that was also still in reality. You wanted to go into performance or video installation, but
yeah, eventually I kind of had to defer to trying to make a living.
Right, in
there
that
was
way.
Reality like shows. I began to forge that into a career
in New York City too.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is because there's that performative side. There's a secret Chris that wanted to be an actress from the very the earliest ages, you know, and I've always kind of performed in my own way. So I made this deal with myself after I got out of college or my master's, is that I would only take jobs that had me either in front of the camera or behind the camera.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would start seeking work.
Okay.
You know, so it would be like things like, okay, corporate video where I shoot like talking heads, like lawyers in their, you know, in their little powwow or whatnot, or CLE classes, or eventually like reality shows where they would give me the camera and eventually they'd be like, because they were always trying to collapse the budget, like, okay, now ask some questions, which is producing too.
Yeah. Oh.
And that's how I became a shooter producer. Is because I had the camera first, and they're like, ask some questions.
Right.
And so you start beginning to ask more, and then you start developing stories because you know that for whatever people are saying, there's stories in there that you can start exploring and pulling out. Right.
So you got that camera because of your other partner, right? That was in photography. That's a totally different camera.
Completely different camera, yeah.
Okay, it's a filming camera rather than just a picture camera. Okay, exactly. I want to just skip this tidbit for reality shows because everybody loves reality shows, you know? It's like you want to listen to part of somebody else's life and some others, their stories. But I found out that reality shows are not really reality shows per se, exactly, because some of them are scripted. Is that right? Or is that not necessarily so?
Well, I mean, there's different kind of scripted and unscripted. If you see unscripted mentioned, then it means that the producers like me are kind of winging it. We're kind of like interviewing a lot and we're developing a story or an idea of who you are. And where this story can go. Now, when you're working in a television show, they already have a certain kind of format that they need to follow through. You know, so like I worked on this show with teens, and they had this process where they were going to have a birthday party at the very end. You know, so it's like taking them through, but talking to them like of what kind of things they would be doing to build up to their birthday party. But you're also pulling out different parts that develop their character. Now, there's some producers will ask questions, and then some producers already have an idea of where they want it to go, and some would tend to be like, just say this.
Oh, okay.
You know, so it comes out. So you sometimes you can hear it in the shows, like when something sounds very canned. You know, and that's probably a producer just like, you're just saying this, or you know, leading them to that answer. There's ways to lead people to
say what
you
want them to say. Yeah. One of my favorite things is House Hunters and International House Hunters. And then I found out that a lot of it was, you know, they had to say certain things. Some of it was true. They were looking for places, but they had to say certain things to present certain things to each other when they're going through the house. And anyway, I was kind of
you have those moments, right, where people are getting together and you're like, okay, well, now we're, you know, we have to film the scene where they're making decisions about the house, or they're looking through things.
Yeah.
So of course that has to be, you have to find the location where they can do it, where it's quiet, like this kind of location maybe, and it's staged in that way.
Yeah, because I thought sometimes it sounded
But it's not
like you said.
Yeah.
Kind of like.
Well, there are those moments also because sometimes people just, you've got people who just naturally know how to say things in sound bites, and then you got people who just keep running on. And that's mortifying too, because you're like, how can we cut this?
Oh, yeah.
When the person, and now they're going off on a tangent. And you're looking at your watch and you're like, wait, this is a lot. No, bring them back in.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have to like make them focus on certain things. So yeah, it sounds it's a little more complex than you think. Yeah. So it's not like it's all fake. Certain parts are set up within a parameter. You know, and yeah, there are times when it can be canned, especially when you got people who just don't know how to get to the point.
Right. So out of all the stuff then that you did in New York City, what was your favorite then medium, or what was the?
Oh yeah, so like with trying to be in front, like behind the camera was one thing. I had this thing with myself where I was just like, okay, what's going to come first? Am I going to be like a major camera operator, or am I going to be a major actress?
Yeah.
You know? And when I put that out to the universe, then the camera thing started developing more.
Oh, that's interesting.
But then at the same time, I would, you know, like I still had to pay rent, and that wasn't like, I was still freelancing, and I still wanted to be part of that whole movie industry or television industry. And so like I'd do a lot of background work. I got like a manager, and I would go on commercial auditions. So it was the whole package, really. I enjoyed the producing reality shows, shooting and producing them, because I got to travel a lot. Put me up in like nice hotels, like 5-star hotels. You know, you get the stipend, you got the credit card for expenses, and
nice
rental car, and it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, it's stressful. It's stressful because it's your job to create something that's very engaging and exciting to people.
You were busy, you were making money, you're doing things that you like to do, both on the acting and camera work. And what was it that made you leave New York City?
I think at that time that was like maybe 2008, which is when the economy took a dip. And so work got scarce. And I was still kind of like in the teen MTV shows. I didn't know how to branch out so much, because you have to know people in order to like jump to different networks sometimes. And because work is a little more limited in New York, it's not like as friendly as Los Angeles. People aren't always going to say, hey, Chris, you know, I've got this gig, you know, that I can't do, you know, could you just like sub for me for a couple of days? People aren't like that friendly, you know, it's kind of like this mine. So it was really just hard to branch out. And I felt like I was just kind of beating my head against the wall. And so I said, well, I could spend my time like beating my head against the wall and trying to scrounge up work, or I could do something completely different and embark on a dream that I had never considered, which was living abroad in Korea.
Okay.
You know, how am I going to get paid to travel?
Yeah.
Teach English in Korea.
Why did you specifically Korea? Because that's not part of your ethnicity.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was not one of the ones listed that you had. But yeah, how come?
I'm not sure if it was like, I wasn't sure if I was like into K-drama at the time, or if I was really just trying to engineer a way for me to get paid living abroad, which I think could have been both or either. Because I was definitely like, okay, well, I can't be a camera operator abroad, so I have to find something that's going to pay me to move to live abroad and travel there. And I did some research, and somehow Korea came up, and that was it. And within 6 months, I was already in Korea.
Wow. You chose the route that a lot of people do, which is going abroad and teaching English.
Yeah. But at the time, a lot of people weren't doing that.
Oh, really?
Well, I didn't feel like they were. It wasn't as like, now it's just like a thing. Like how people
So many.
love to travel now. Before,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like a lot of people love to travel.
Mm.
Or there weren't as many solo travelers how there are today.
Yeah.
Because also when I went to Korea, there was hardly any English.
You said it took you 6 months
Roughly
from deciding when you're going to do it to
like
moving there.
Focused.
Wow.
When I want something, I'm just like, I jump in.
Yeah. So how was it when was it easy to adapt to? What were some?
Oh my God, it was so hard.
Was it?
It was fun, but it was so hard.
Mm.
I mean, you had to move to Taiwan.
Yes.
Right? Was that your first time?
Okay, well, the very first time I went back to Taiwan, I didn't speak any Chinese, but I had family there that I was reconnecting with for a short period of time after 14 years. So, and then this time going back to live in Taiwan, my Mandarin is much better. So I've learned that. The thing is that when and I feel like language is a big thing, a really important thing, because I speak Mandarin now and English, but if I go to Japan, not everybody, the words are in kanji, they're like different. And so I feel a little off balance because I can't speak generally to everybody in Chinese or English. So in Korea, there is not that much English.
A lot of people think that in order to live in another country, you have to know the language.
Mm-hmm.
You don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's optimum if you do.
Yeah.
Because it helps your life immensely to be able to understand what people are saying.
Yeah.
As well as to understand how to do like the simplest things of setting up your own bank account or getting your cell phone service. Oh my gosh, the cell phone service I had to sign up for by myself. It was just a lot of us drawing on paper and going back and forth.
And this was 2008, right? You said.
Oh no, it was like 2009, 10, or 11, somewhere around there.
Yeah, okay.
So it was really hard. Like it was such a culture shock. I mean, I loved Korea and I hated it, and I don't regret any part of it because it was a wonderful experience, even when you're going through some of that stuff. But I remember when I first arrived and there was no English in the stores. You don't think about it till you get there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what's shampoo versus conditioner?
I can't read it.
Like, what's the difference? Yeah. I bought like conditioner and put it in my hair thinking it was shampoo. And I was like, why is it so like slimy feeling?
Yeah.
So it's like those little things that you don't think of. Or like, how do I turn on my washer? Like, which is the on button? And what... like even signing into your bank account. Or working on your Korean computer, doing Microsoft Word, but it's all in Korean.
Oh man!
Like these are all like little things that you're just like, wow, big shift.
Yeah.
How. But you find and there was no like Google Translate at the time.
I know,
where you can like take a picture of something and know what it means.
Yeah, yeah.
You're literally like asking people for help or, just trying to like figure out from the pictures. I remember I started like working on my blog, my travel blog back then. And there was this one post or series that I did, just show me pictures because it was about that culture shock that you're going through of like, not knowing, like moving to a different country and not knowing the simplest things.
Yeah.
Like every one step forward feels like 10 steps back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
like what I always say when people go abroad and all these little things that happen, and it's kind of like, oh, this thing happened, drip. This thing happened, drip. This thing happened. And it's almost a little bit like Chinese torture or something, because after you get a lot of these drips, you just some people just can't handle it, and they just major cultural shock moment where they just
it's overwhelming.
Lose it. Yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of expats at the time, they were struggling with that. I mean, some people had Korean co-teachers that would help set up their life for them. I had one that wasn't as helpful at times for the essential things, and she had her own life to deal with. And I just thought she hated me because I was Asian and not Korean.
That Korean person.
Not that Korean person.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and even at that level, I was just like, is it racism? But
probably
because
it
I'm
might
not,
be,
because
it's
I'm
a more
not,
subtle kind of way.
there is, there are
Yeah.
times that I would be like, do you not like me because I'm not white? And you got the Asian one,
Yeah.
who's not Korean, or
Yeah.
who's like a different form of like lower Asian. I don't know.
Yeah. And for people that don't know, that's definitely a thing in Asia, Southeast Asia, everywhere.
Yep.
If you're not white and you're Asian face, there's discrimination that goes on.
Yeah,
and
because
people don't know.
with the white people, the Caucasian people, the Koreans are like, oh my God,
I
you are
know.
Tom Cruise. Oh, you even like African American, you are Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
and they would just like flock, want to take photos, and I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
And you speak so good Korean when they only speak one word or two words in the way off accent.
Right? I mean, you go through your own identity crisis of I'm unloved. I'm the unloved race.
Yeah.
Isn't
that funny though? It's like wherever, when we go to different places, it's a different type. I don't know. It's a different type of racism or this identity issue that you have to go through.
Yeah, I don't know if you experience it in Taiwan, because
totally.
are you born and raised in Taiwan?
I was born there, but I was raised in the States. I left when I was really young. But when I go back, and all of us returning, you're not, for roles or something, if you're not white, for commercials, you're not white, you get paid lower for the same type of thing just because you don't have a white face. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. Yeah.
You must feel it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. When you're talking about that, when I was visiting, I was just, I could see that be a thing. You're like in between. You just don't, you're not this or not that.
Yeah.
It's like how I'm not Japanese, like I don't look Japanese and I don't look Hawaiian.
Yeah.
But even it's just like, did you feel like, because you were raised in the US, you were of a higher status or a lesser status in Taiwan?
When I first went back, very first time that I went to visit, I was so American. And of course, I'm better than you guys. But that was when I was when I was 20, 21. I mean, when I look back on those days, it's a little bit embarrassing to me now. But there was this kind of attitude kind of thing. And now, I mean, maybe it comes with age. You just kind of balance, and maybe I'm more balanced and settled in my own identity. And although there's things that bother me still in terms of the industry and having that discrimination for myself, I still feel a little bit sad, but I don't think that I'm necessarily better than anybody else. However, if somebody starts talking to me and they're angry or there's something because I don't understand them, then I'll start speaking in English. And then they're like, oh, you're not.
You're different.
So in one way, you kind of use it to your advantage.
There's those loopholes that you know to use because you're not from the culture born and raised.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's that weird thing of even living in Korea is you can get around certain societal rules because you're different. You're not from there, but at the same time, you're also trying to fit in.
This hypothetical thing. All right. So this is because we're Asian and we're going in. If you're a white person going into Asia, no problem. It doesn't matter. But then I wonder, if a white person goes into Europe, do they get the same kind? I don't think so. Of discrimination or racial thing. I mean, a lot of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think if you have a British voice or a French one, a French accent, then maybe you are kind of like, right? That's maybe how they distinguish the difference. I'm pretty sure also it's just because, even in the travel sector, there's when I travel, I see there are the stereotypes. The German traveler, the European, the Spanish traveler,
the American traveler.
Exactly. Everyone has their own stereotype. The Chinese traveler.
Oh yeah. In the more recent years, yes.
Yeah, it's like the Americans, the Chinese, and the Germans are the ones that you just don't want to put your flag out.
Yeah. Did you just gravitate to other people that spoke English and wanted only attend, hang out with the other English speaking teachers or hang out at English speaking clubs? I mean, how long did it?
Yes and no. I mean, I gravitated towards it because I felt lost.
Yeah.
And I needed a support group. I needed to understand how to decode things, where people were going for, like, I don't know, for home appliances, where people were going, so we kind of, like, our program kind of pooled together because everyone had a little bit of information on something.
Yeah.
So we would put it into, like, our Facebook chat and then kind of figure out where, how to navigate where we were at, as well as who would be traveling off to different parts of Korea and if they wanted to tag along, what festivals were, up, and let's go as a group.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped. It also, I guess, kept me from learning Korean too much, kept me from being immersed. So that's the trade-off is, do you stick with your English friends or do you try to embrace the culture and immerse yourself in it? I think the people who immerse themselves because maybe they lived in a rural, or they were teaching in a rural village or area, where they only had their Korean co-teacher and their community there, the Korean community, they learned Korean a whole lot faster. It took me a while to learn Korean. And then, of course, I had to unlearn it because whenever Koreans thought that I was Korean, then I would not get preferential treatment. And it's hard. I mean, it sounds like I'm being so American privileged, but when you see your fellow expats, the whites, the blacks, getting, like, adored, and you're set on the side, and you're just like, what's wrong with me again?
Yeah.
It was constantly
never-ending story.
No matter where I go to, there's always going to be that identity shift and always feeling a little left out. Until I embrace myself a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So
what was your favorite thing about Korea?
Oh, a lot. Okay. I couldn't eat the food too much, but it was very tasty when I could. I love that the cost of living was, a lot more affordable. The technology was amazing. It's a small. Well, no, it's not even that. I mean, I feel like it was more expensive in Korea than it was, like, maybe in the U.S. at the time.
You mean like
buying technology? Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong, but, like, it's the smallest thing of, like, when you withdraw money from your bank account, right? Like, before, back in the day, I had to write my checkbook. I had to, like, change. You have to keep the register, right? Of whenever you withdraw something.
Yeah.
But then I would just stick my checkbook in, and it would just all the things, like anything that was deposited within the past month or whatnot, any deductions that I made, it would just itemize it out for me like that. Or, like, when you go, I came from New York, where we had, like, the Metro cards. You have to swipe, and reload. Korea, they have, like, these little keychains. These little magnet keychains where you top off money onto it. And that keychain could be, like, at the bottom of your bag. And all you would have to do is go like that on the turnstile. and it would just let you through.
Scan it. Yeah.
Even, like, what do you call it? I remember my co-teacher was taking me, we're going somewhere where we needed to pass through the toll booth. All she did was she took out her wallet and she just hit it against the reader, and it was like, bing.
Yeah.
So it's like those kind of things where you just, wow, this is so fascinating.
I know. I mean, if you compare a lot of Asian countries that are quite advanced in a lot of things that the U.S. doesn't have.
Gosh, you would not, like,
so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember even, like, Myanmar, like, complete tangent, but I went to Myanmar, like, back in the day, like, I think maybe 2011 or 12 or something like that. And you're thinking Myanmar, right? It's
people think third country.
Yeah, but they had this VIP bus with television monitor, touchscreen television monitor, headset with music. if it was an overnight bus, I went on a Hello Kitty one where they had like a Hello Kitty blanket and they had like a attendant going down, passing out drinks, toothbrush, toothpaste, snack. And I was like,
I know.
we just have Greyhound, and we were lucky if we have Wi-Fi on it.
I know, right? See, these comparisons are just funny. Okay, so you named a couple of things that you really like. What about what did you really not like, aside from the discrimination? I feel like.
Wait, I can go on. I like the skincare products and like hair, like all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
people are dressed
Japanese, Korea, yeah.
What did I not like? It took a while to learn the Korean workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're very forgiving of foreigners, more than they should be in certain ways, because some people just really take advantage of that, and that was sad when you notice that. I would just say that the culture, the language barrier was hard. I didn't hate it, but it was hard.
Yeah.
You've got those moments where it's just like, I don't understand this, and why are things so backwards? And like the Korean style is people can just, or the workplace was, they wouldn't give you much advance notice about things. They just kind of like, oh, you're in charge of teaching adult English. It's going to be next week. You're going to teach the parents. And you're like, what? I don't have a lesson plan. What? What? Like that kind of stuff where they would just be like, okay, well, we have like English camp, and just think of a lesson to teach for all these days. I remember, I did like this English camp where it was kind of like they used a lot of theater. Like the kids at the very end of the session of a week had to be able to have mastered, create their own skit and perform it, dance, music, and all that stuff. So, and along the way, you have to like play games and teach them lessons and stuff like that. But it was our job to come up with that whole,
program,
and find the music and teach them all, they had to make their own like costumes too. So it was just like all within like, I think a turnaround period of maybe 2 days or something.
You were in Korea then for 1 year, you said.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because you just decided you didn't want to renew there, you wanted to do something else, you had your fill of Korea?
I was actually thinking of renewing, but I wanted to work at a college level because I wanted a little more freedom.
Right.
And so that was the plan, but then I came home for a little while. I got my first acting role with Hawaii 5-0, right?
Oh, that was a good...
And I know how hard it is to get those roles, like from New York, that I was like, oh, maybe I better stay here longer. And so I kind of gave up. I had gotten into a Korean college or like to teach. It was a good college too. It was a good pay. And I don't know why I gave up.
Because if you're shooting...
For the hope of like being an actress. But...
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. But the actress one, you did get you got a role before you decided to quit. Or it was you gave that up just for the chance of being, because Hawaii 5-0 was here.
Well, no. Okay. So I was interviewing with the university, and they flew me up. They put me in a hotel and whatnot. And, in that time, they were just like, okay, yes, we want you to, congratulations, we'd like to hire you. And so I was, oh, cool. And I went home, and then right there, like Naz, you were like,
Naz.
Right? Okay. She was like, oh, congratulations, you booked this, Hawaii 5-0. And then there are like stars in my eyes.
Yeah, I can.
And I'm like, well, I can't leave now because my acting career is just beginning.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't do that because you know what? That was always something that you wanted to do.
That's true.
So here was an opportunity that was, handed to you. And the thing is that then, so you stayed in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And, Hawaii, honestly, well, I was overseas a lot of the times when a lot of the major shows that were being filmed here and stuff. So I didn't go through that, like Lost and...
Oh, I wasn't here for that either.
Okay, yeah. So the industry, over here, there's not really that much of a opportunity. So at that time, you came in, Nat says you got the job.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, it was only going to be a day, you know,
Right.
the
Oh, okay.
perspective was, my perspective
Okay.
was so off, you know, because I'm just like, oh my God, there's possibility here.
yeah.
And, you know, in the back of your mind, I mean, my career goal was not to be a teacher at the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
It was always to be either a camera operator or a, you know, actress.
Yeah, in front or behind the camera. Yeah.
In the industry where there's all this action going.
Exactly.
And I want to be a part of that. And so in the back of my brain, even though I was enjoying teaching, I was really loving like being a teacher. That's the only job, that was the first job that I did full time. Because other than that, I was a freelance.
Right.
I was really loving it. And I guess it was just really hard because you know, your heart calls in a different way.
Yeah.
Even though you love the area you're living in, you finally like embraced it, your heart's still like, but what about this? These are your dreams too. And are you just going to give up on them?
Yeah.
You know, even though they sound like far-fetched, maybe you'll never succeed at them, but you still want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the hard part. I mean, you'll go through fire for that. You make stupid decisions for that. I mean, women do that.
Yeah.
They do that for love, right? You stay with the same person that's not working for you for a long time because you want to make it work.
Yeah. So, was it as smooth as you thought it might be? You know, after your first gig with Hawaii
definitely
5-0?
not.
So, I mean, getting into the industry. Okay, so what things, you know?
Because my next role didn't come till like 4 years later. And then I think another 4 years later. Meanwhile, I had to wait out all those 4 years trying to like, you know, build up work and stuff like that. And even at that, when I came back to Hawaii, I was a woman in a male dominant industry, you know, trying to get into television. Nope, I don't fit into film. Nope, I don't fit into syndicated TV because I'm from reality.
You're talking about not the acting aspect, the camera aspect.
The money making one that I love to do too. Yeah. You know, like it's either or, right?
Yeah.
So that was a new thing because now I'm in a new environment. I have to start all over again. I don't think people believe that I worked in reality TV because if I were, then why would I be here in Hawaii?
Yeah.
So there was that whole identity shift again of being a woman in a male industry and not finding acceptance, not finding an easy way in. Whereas I didn't encounter that in Los Angeles or New York. You know, they're very flexible. Women are in the field. But here I was like, at the time, I think there was only one other woman in the industry who would, you know, be considered for holding a camera.
Right.
Or operating it.